Fania, could I ask, I guess, and then I want to go to Aziz, but when I look at the previous government, the government that was of Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid, I didn't see a government that supported the idea of ending the occupation or supporting a Palestinian state. And I wonder how you feel about the idea of a shift in United States policy, of the United States not being willing to provide Israel these unconditional weapons, because I think there are a lot of Americans on the call and who might think that even if they think that what you're doing in Israel is very admirable, would feel that it's not likely to succeed unless there is really substantial pressure on Israel from outside. And I'm curious, in terms of concrete steps in the future, how that lands with you.
Well, from day one, not from the 7th of October, from January 23, when the fresh new government of Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, and Smotrich and Yariv Levin came up with this coup d'etat, with this undoing of Israeli democracy by Knesset majority, automatic majority legislation. I was among the first people who said out loud in Israel and abroad that we need pressure from other countries, hopefully our friends, but stark pressure. I published less than a year ago a book in German, in Germany, and went to Berlin and spoke to many people about it, suggesting that the German government stop liking the Netanyahu government so much. Now they have, by the way, a day or two ago, that they stop supporting Israel automatically, including weapon sanctions, including what I think is best, personal sanctions on Netanyahu and every member of his government. Not including Israeli civil society and universities, but that's perhaps a different debate. Yes, I want international powers to exercise pressure on the Netanyahu government, so much pressure, in fact, that it will fall. Mm-hmm. So if Trump hadn't been elected, if you guys, you Americans hadn't elected Trump, things may have been much easier for us. But right now, here I am trying
we might disagree on that big time.
You think so? You think so?
I absolutely think so. I don't think Harris would have been on Israel and Palestine any better than Trump. Perhaps even we have a better chance with Trump than Harris on Israel and Palestine. I'm not talking American policy.
I wish you are right, Aziz. Anyway, if Trump turns for any reason away from Netanyahu, I will rejoice.
Right.
And even if Israel goes through the valley of death, for a very, very difficult time in its international relations, if this is what it takes to oust the Netanyahu government, so be it.
Right. But I do hear a persistent difference between the two of you on the question of how much of the problem is Netanyahu and the people around him versus how much is the problem of, I would say, the Israeli political class more generally. I mean, Aziz, I'm curious, do you think that there would be a significant difference of Israeli behavior if this government were replaced by another government?
Well, first of all, I have to draw into the, just to say quickly.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
We also have something called the Palestinian civil society. And it too is a problem. So if we count the problems on the fingers of our hand, it's Netanyahu and it's Ben-Gvir and stuff, and it's Trump and it's Israeli civil society to some degree. I don't know to what degree, we shall have to see after Netanyahu goes. And it's Palestinian society.
Okay, so Aziz, you can respond to whatever you want. The point about different is, the opposition to Netanyahu, or if you want to talk about Palestinian civil society, whatever you want to respond to.
I'll talk to both. I think if there's an election tomorrow and think who might be the next prime minister, which likely will be anything from Naftali Bennett to Gantz to Lapid, I don't see a huge improvement. Gantz has talked about even against the two-state solution, which Fania is talking about. Lapid has been absent pretty much. I'm not sure what he thinks anymore. And then Naftali Bennett has been pretty much super supportive of the genocidal language and war of this government. So I'm not sure any of those are really going to be much help. I don't think it's about the fall of the government or the saying of the government. I think unless the international community and international governments really not only pressure the government, but pressure Israel, the state, to make significant changes. And pressure is not like the way we've been talking about it, oh, tough love, have a conversation with us, kind of like supposedly the Biden administration did, as every hospital in Gaza got destroyed, and they kept saying, oh no, but it's our friends, we have to talk to them, we know how to talk to them. You know what I normally say, and most Israelis won't agree with me? I want the international community to treat Israel like they treat Palestine. Just give us the exact same rights internationally as Israel gets, or limit Israel freedom to certain things, or Israel rights to certain things, like you limit ours. When our football team can't go and play because Israel doesn't let them leave the country because of the occupation, Israeli football teams shouldn't be able to travel to play anywhere. When Palestinians can't travel because of the occupation, why do Israelis have the ability to go everywhere in the world without a visa when Palestinians can't even get to an airport to travel, can't even have an airport to travel? I think if that happens, if Israelis get exactly the same treatment as Palestinians, or Palestinians get the same privilege that Israelis have, that works for me. You will see things changing. But as long as the occupation is so comfortable, and as long as the occupation is profitable, where Israel announces today 22 new settlements, or yesterday, and nothing happens in the world. We get condemnation from the British. They're like, maybe we will sanction Ben Gvir and Smotrich. What is sanctioning Ben Gvir and Smotrich alone is going to do? Like, these small steps of we doing signaling that the occupation is not okay, but it's not going to make really a huge difference, doesn't work. Like, there needs to be big steps. And unless those big steps happen and governments around the world start taking responsibility, that won't happen. This is, by the way, why I'm in Rome now, and just had a meeting with some politicians here, met with Pope Leo this morning, doing lots of meetings with politicians all across Europe, United States, because we are telling people in every government we meeting, every person we meeting, look, you can't just do these nice speeches about what Israel's doing is not okay. It needs to be doubled with action. And I would agree with Fania, the civil society has a huge role to play. And big part of where the international community can come is to support that civil society. With the United States cutting all funding to civil society in Israel and Palestine, somebody else has to step in. We need support from, whether it's Europe or other places. We need that support, because without civil society, we are in big trouble. I have my own criticism of the Palestinian civil society and so on, but I think we have to also remember the Palestinian civil society is still under occupation. Everything we do, everything we say is controlled to a big degree by the system that we live in. An organization can get raided by the Israeli army at any given point, which happened, for example, for Al-Haq, civil society organization, for organizations who work with Palestinian prisoners. It is not as easy as it is for civil, and I know it is getting harder and harder for civil society organizations in Israel. It's even harder for those on the Palestinian side. And again, I do have my own criticisms, and I think there are always things that can get better, but we have to not lose a view of the reality that we exist within.